Parkinson will hold at just past the 35-yard line. Pete Gogolaki's had problems. He's 1 for 6 this year. And it's good. From the 36-yard line, Pete Gogolak hits. And with timeout, the score is the Giants 3, the Cowboys 3.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time any day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone out there who's been watching my videos. I greatly appreciate it. If you can maybe give this video a thumbs up, or maybe leave a comment below or share the video, it would mean so much to me. But anyway, just thank you just so much for taking time any day to check out this video. And before I start off with the remembrance of 9/11 and going over the seasons, the head-to-head series with the Broncos and the New York Giants, I want to give just a little recap. My son and I were at the game Thursday night between the Cowboys and Tampa Bay. My son's a Cowboy fan, so we try to go to a Cowboy game, for his birthday, because his birthday is September 12th. Which just happens to be this Sunday. But we try to go to a Cowboy game every year. So this one we picked, against the Tampa Bay Bucks. So we went down to Tampa. It was a good game, real good game. Zerline, the kicker for the Cowboys, I don't want to say blow it for the Cowboys, but he missed an extra point. He missed a 31-yard field goal. He missed another field goal, but I think it was like 60 yards. But, those extra points and field goals, they'll kill you. Yeah, but so I was really, really excited. I mean, Dak drove the Cowboys down, put them up 29-28, about a minute and a half to go. Unfortunately, and Tampa Bay, I think, had one timeout, I think it was, but they had like a minute and a half on the clock, which is far too much for Mr. Brady. So he drove them down the field, and I think with like 2 seconds left, they kicked the winning field goal, but the place was going crazy. It was a good game. I mean, as I said, I'm like Switzerland. I just like go there and enjoy the game. So it was a good game between the Cowboys and Tampa Bay. Good way to start the season off. So the way Tampa Bay got the victory, hopefully the Giants will be getting the W this Sunday. But today it's obviously September 11th. So it's 20 years to the day. All right, so I just want to go over like a quick, I could probably sit here for an hour talking about 9/11. If you're old enough and everything, you kind of know, where you were, how you, who told you, how you found out, all that stuff and everything. I'd been working in Philadelphia overnight, so I got home about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping. My wife was at work, and I was in our bed, and I'm sleeping. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. The sun's out, so it doesn't take much to wake you up. So my wife called, and the phone's right by my bed, and I'm like, hello? Because I've been asleep for just a couple hours. I'm trying to sleep. And she's like, turn the TV on. I'm like, why? Why? She's like, I think she said we were being attacked or something like that. She said a plane flew into the World Trade Center, the World Trade Tower buildings. And I'm like, what? So I put it on, and that's how I found out. But I mean, if you're old enough, I mean, some of you, I don't even know, some of you may not even be around in 2001, or some of you might have only been a couple years old, and you really don't remember what happened and all that. But if you're old enough, certain things in your life, will, you'll remember where you were at when you found out. And 9/11 is one of those absolutely horrible, horrible incident. Now, there's no specific, I couldn't find anything on exactly why the Giants started with the Broncos game 1 of the season. And the only thing which makes a lot of sense, would be it's 9/11. The game's being played on the 12th. All right, so the day after 9/11. But it's 20 years, right? It's been 20 years. So, I mean, but more specifically is September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11. It was a Monday night. Okay, September 11th, 2001 was on a Tuesday. So September 10th, 2001, Monday Night Football. The Giants were playing in Denver. All right. I'll go over that game a little bit more, toward the end of this video. But they were playing them, in Denver. So 20 years ago, they were, that might be why the Giants are starting the season off with Denver. The Monday night game, they got home in from Denver. They flew into Newark, New Jersey, which is close to, kind of close to Giant Stadium. And they got in probably around like 6 o'clock in the morning. But it was Monty Toomer had mentioned that when they came in from Denver and they landed and they pulled into Newark Airport, one of the flight attendants, I think, pointed out that they were pulling up the flight that they were pulling up next to was an United Airlines flight, and it was United Flight 93. Now, if you ever look up United Airlines Flight 93, they made a movie about it too. But if you look it up on Wikipedia, you have to just type in United Airlines Flight 93, and Wikipedia page will pop up. It's one of the airplanes that got hijacked. There was 4 airplanes that got hijacked. 2 crashed in New York. 1 flew into the Pentagon, and the 4th one wound up landing in a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. Now, it took off from Newark, United Airlines Flight 93, and the flight itself was supposed to be going to San Francisco. Well, it got hijacked, and they were supposed to fly it into apparently the Capitol building, okay, in Washington D.C. Never made it there because the passengers on board, took things into their own hands, and the worthless piece of garbage terrorists, they realized, I guess, they weren't going to be able to take the plane and fly it into the Capitol building. So what the worthless piece of trash did was they crashed the plane in a field in Somerset County, Pennsylvania, killing everybody on board. There was 44 people on board, civilians, and then the 4 worthless piece of trash terrorists, they were also passed away as well too. But those were the 3 other planes. Of course, unfortunately, the World Trade Tower, they 2 planes flew into that, and another one went into the Pentagon. But it was just kind of eerie. They wound up landing in Newark, and they wound up landing right next to the plane that was taken off that wound up getting hijacked. John Mara from the Giants, he also mentioned that when he got in around 6 o'clock in the morning, he said he went to the stadium and he fell asleep in his office, and he said he woke up. Jim Fossil, the late coach of the Giants, who just passed away recently, was in the hallway, and I see John Maris, said Jim Fossil told him, said an airplane flew into the World Trade Towers, and John Mara's like, that's awfully weird. That's a weird accident. And then apparently, then after that, shortly after that, the second plane flew into the other trade tower, and then John Mara went up to. There's a spot somewhere in the Giant Stadium where you can walk up, and apparently, I guess you got a good view out onto New York City. And he looked out and he saw the smoke from both towers, and he realized something wasn't quite right. Now, the Giants played the first game. The next week, they canceled football. The next week, the Giants were supposed to be at home hosting the Packers, okay, which they played, wound up taking the second week games and pushed them to the last game of the season. The Giants wound up going on the road once again for their second game, which should have been actually their third game, but their second game, they went to Kansas City. And the very classy people of Kansas City, when the Giants ran out onto the field, just basically for warm-ups and all that, right, they got a round of applause. They were standing and cheering for him and clapping for him. Very, very classy people in Kansas City. But the game that the Giants got canceled, got pushed to the last week of the season, was against the Packers, with just it wasn't the Giants' season. The Giants started 3-1 in 2001, and they wound up 7-9. They had I think they had a slim shot. They were 7-7. Then they lost the last two games this season. One to the Eagles, the other one to the Packers. The year before that, they were 12-4, and they went to the Super Bowl. So they went from 12-4 down to 7-9. So, but the last game of the season, which wound up being the Packers, just happened to be, at least there was a little bright spot to the end of the season. That was the game that Michael Strahan, if you want to call, sacked Brett Favre to get his 22nd and a half sack, setting a new NFL record. That's the one where Brett Favre, I guess, took the ball, kind of ran toward Michael Strahan's way, and fell down when Michael was kind of close to him, kind of giving him his 22nd and a half sack, because if Brett Favre didn't do that, Michael Strahan might have ended the season with 21 and a half sacks, and he would have been a little half a sack short of the record. But that's, so 2001 was a very, very, I certainly don't want to say special, but it's 9/11, 2001. It was very, very, will be engraved throughout history. It was one of those events, one of those days that will be with us forever, certainly. And all the people that lost their lives and all the families that affected it all. Such a true, absolute tragedy, absolutely horrible. But that was 2001, and basically this is 20 years later, and it's a quick, brief little story that I got about it. As I said, if you could be here for probably hours talking about 9/11, but I just want to give you a little quick recap. As it just happened to wind up being that they're playing the Broncos on September 12th, and it just happened, it was 20 years ago they opened the season up in Denver against the Broncos. So, but the Giants and the Broncos, they've met 13 times. One time was, of course, Super Bowl 21, and we know who won that one. But during the regular season, basically, pretty much the series is tied 6 games apiece. The Giants got the 1 win in the Super Bowl, so the Giants have a 7-game to 6-game advantage. The first time that the Giants and the New York Giants and the Denver Broncos played each other was in 1972 at Yankee Stadium. The Giants wound up winning that one 29-17. They were up 19-0 at halftime, and they kind of cruised to a victory in that one. That was 1972. Was one of the 2 years that the New York Giants had winning seasons in the 70s. 1970, they finished the season 9-5. They were 1 game out of the playoffs. And in 1972, the New York Giants wound up 8-6. Other than that, they didn't have a winning season the rest of the 70s. The next time the Giants and the Broncos played was 4 years later, in 1976. I'm just going to give a recap of some of the games. I'm not going to go over all 13 of them, but 1976, that was a horrible year for the New York Giants. The Giants played the Broncos out in Denver for the first time ever. The Giants lost 14-13. Okay, it was kind of odd. The Giants blocked a punt, of the Broncos, and Jim Steinke ran it back for a touchdown. Okay, so they blocked the punt to score a touchdown. All right, so then the extra point that they tried to kick got blocked, and the Giants lost 14-13. So it would have been 14-14, would have gone to overtime, and who knows what would have happened. But I mean, that's how the Giants lost that one, 14-30. I said 1976 was not a good year for the Giants, but that was 1976. Then they played other games, but I'm just going to go up to 1986. Okay, that was the year of the Super Bowl. They wound up playing the Giants and the New York Giants and the Broncos played each other 2 times that year. Obviously, one was during the regular season, one was in the postseason, Super Bowl 21. But 1986, the game when the New York Giants played the Broncos, the Giants wound up winning that one 19-16, They scored 1 touchdown all game, which was on a George Martin 78-yard interception return. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the highlights of it all, but John Elway got the ball there. The Broncos were in the Giants' territory. It was like around the 25-yard line, 24-yard line, somewhere around there, but deep, but certainly within field goal range. John Elway goes back to pass, and Gerald Wilhite is in the flat, and he tries to flip the ball out to him. Well, George Martin's in the way. George Martin sticks out his hand, pulls the ball in, and takes off 78 yards for a touchdown. Lawrence Taylor winds up tackling him in the end zone, jumps on his neck and pulls him down in celebration. But that was the only touchdown the Giants scored that day. I mean, the Giants kicked 4 field goals. I mean, the Broncos that day were the better team. And that was 1986. And I had some worries and some doubts going into the Super Bowl because the Giants were home that day. Okay, the Broncos that day had 26 first downs. The Giants only had 14. The Broncos had 405 yards of offense against that Giant defense. Broncos were on the road and got 405 yards. Giants only had 262 yards of offense. The Broncos had 325 yards passed, and the Giants had 119 yards passed in the whole game. Now, this is the Broncos coming into the Giants Stadium. This is the Giants. The Giants were 14-2 that year. Broncos were the better team that day. Giants were lucky to walk out with the W. Okay, so when going into the Super Bowl, I was kind of worried because I'm thinking about this game. I'm like, man, the Broncos came into the Giants Stadium and they were a better team that day. I mean, without question. And the Giants came out with the W. So when the Super Bowl rolled around, I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. And then the Giants were losing 10-9 at halftime, all right? But the Giants pulled away in the second half. Actually, toward the end of the fourth quarter, they were up 39-13 at one point. So in the second half, okay, they outscored the Broncos at one point 30-3, all right, and just pulled away, and they wound up winning 39-20. But that was 1986. The Giants wound up winning 2 times there. Then of course, we got if you ever just type in YouTube Gary Reason's The Hit, okay, just type that in, and the Bronco game with the Giants in 1989 will come up. This game was in Mile High Stadium, all right. The Giants obviously were on the road. It was in the snow. Okay, it was cold, you know, and it was football weather. Pat Summerall and John Madden are calling the game. All right, so if you ever see that, that video of Gary Reasons, right? The Broncos, it's 4th down and goal from like the 1-yard line. All right. John Elway turns around and hands the ball off to Bobby Humphrey, all right? So he starts running, but you see like an end zone shot, and you see Gary Reason just following him, and Gary Reason just takes off. The Broncos were at the 1, okay? Gary Reason takes off, and by the time he hits Bobby Humphrey, he hits him like at the 2-yard line. He hits him like about a yard behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, he took off flying. And if you actually see it in slow motion, all right, slow it down and all, Bobby Humphrey's mouthpiece comes flying out of the air. You can see it if you slow it down. Flying out of the air and landing on the ground. And he just comes up and he smashes him and gives him a hit. Whew, saves the Giants, saves a touchdown right there, and the Giants wind up winning that one 14-7. It was an impressive game. It was a wonderful game. It was a good football game, but it didn't really, it helped the Giants get, with the playoffs and all, but the Giants lost the home playoff game that year to the Rams. Flipper Anderson caught a ball in overtime and caught the ball, ran through the end zone, ran up the tunnel, and just kept going. Never came back. The Rams won 19-13 in overtime on that. Tough way to lose a game. Tough way to lose a season. And of course, then we have 1998. All right. The Giants at home beat the Broncos 20-16. All right, Denver was 13-0 coming into that game. All right, the Giants were only 5-8. All right, now Denver that year would wind up winning the Super Bowl, and that was John Elway's last season. Okay, he won his second Super Bowl in a row, and he just rode off into the sunset. All right, the Giants won on a 37-yard TD pass from Kent Graham to Amani Toomer with 48 seconds left to go, and the Giants wound up winning 20-16. So that was a very, very special game. Not so much for the morale of the Giants. The Broncos came. The Broncos were good. They were really good, and the Giants shut them down that way, and they beat them 20-16 and made them 13-1. Yes, and then we got obviously there was a 2001 game, the Monday night game, which was September 10th, 2001, the day before, obviously, 9/11 happened. The Giants were in on Monday night was in when they were in Denver. Denver was a good team. The Giants the year before were 12-4. They went to the Super Bowl, so it was a big game. You know, the Giants tied it up early in the third quarter at 14. The Giants, I don't want to say never won the game, but I mean the Broncos were definitely, without question, this game the better team, without question. It was 14-14 early in the third quarter. Then the Broncos scored the 17 straight points to make it 31-14, and the Giants scored like a late touchdown, like a last minute or so. They missed the extra point, and the final score was 31-20. But the Broncos were the better team, as I said. Then they left there, and by the time they flew in, they landed in Newark Airport. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, and shortly after that is when all this, sadly, the events were to happen on 9/11/2001. In 2005, we have another exciting game, right? It was at Giants Stadium. Eli Manning was in control, all right? The Giants won this one 24-23. With 10 seconds left to go in the game, the Giants are down at the 2-yard line. The place is going crazy, okay? It's 23-17, all right? Eli Manning gets the ball. He starts backpedaling. He gets the ball to 2. He's backpedaling. And he gets to about the 15-yard line. And just before 2 Broncos come in and sack him, he kind of turns and just slings the ball to the end zone. And Monty Toomer, once again, the Bronco beater, right, jumps up and catches the ball in the end zone. And then with Jay Feely's extra point, okay, the Giants wind up winning 24-23. Now, the Broncos came into that game 5-1. In 1998, when they came into the Giants game, they were 13-0. So between those 2 games, right, the Broncos came into the game. Those 2 games at Giants Stadium in 1998 and 2005. The Broncos were 18-1. Okay, between those 2 seasons, right. At the time they came into Giants Stadium, the Giants knocked them off both times, and both times the Broncos were great teams. I mean, the Broncos in '98 wound up 14-2. All right, and in 2005, the Broncos wound up 13-3. All right, so the Broncos were very good both those seasons, and the Giants knocked them off both times. Then after that, I mean, after 2005, we just started playing them every 4 years. All right, 2009, the Broncos, I mean, there was just some blowouts after this. 2009, the Broncos beat us 26-6. 2013, the Broncos beat us 41-23. The last time we played them, the Giants won 23-10, okay, which gives us a 7 games to 6 lead, right? So now you got, obviously, the game on Sunday. You know, I'm sure there'll be some type of ceremony and all, talking about 9/11 and everything like that. But it's very, very appropriate, I believe, that the Giants start this season off against the Denver Broncos. And sadly, the 20 years it's been since 9/11 happened. And one of the most sayings of all time, the ones that touch you, how true it is, that I heard, came about 9/11. And I don't remember who said it, okay, but it's so true. All gave some gave all. How true it is. Well, as always, people, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo!